Now I'll start. Thank you for joining us today. It's Self-Care Awareness Month, and there's so many different awareness things. To be honest, the bigger topic that we're actually going to delve into today, if you read the details in the event, was pain. I'm not going to say it's the only symptom that this community deals with. And for those of you that do not deal with it, just be thankful. There's so many things that pain can do to a person. It's not unique to lipedema, but it is unique in the fact that it presents differently to each of us. And I think society's really, it's doing a good job on creating awareness and bringing attention to these things. But sometimes we get lost in our own headspace and we have trouble understanding where's the pain coming from. Was it something I did? Was it something I took? Was it a new activity? For those of you that aren't active regularly and live in chronic pain, you try your vibration machine or you go for a walk with your neighbor and you have more pain. And we have this almost immediate response in today's world to, oh, the vibration machine hurt me, or oh, the walk, it isn't good for me. And we sometimes, it's been so long since we've been able to enjoy activity, not it's something we have to do for our self-care. Activity used to be something as kids we enjoyed, running and jumping and playing. But we've sometimes forgotten what exercise or new activity pain feels like. And sometimes that can even be related to a therapy. I know Jen and Kelly, they're going to take the main floor today. But you deal with people and you could be sore after going for a massage treatment. I had a lady that used to complain about my sauna because her bum was sore from, I bet you she had lipedema. I didn't know what it was then, but sitting on the hardwood bench for too long, she would be sore for days after on her butt cheeks and her tailbone. And, I just assumed I just put more towels. Looking back 20 years ago, I have different experience now. And part of what we're going to do today is talk a lot about experience. There's a lot of standards of care and there's all kinds of pills out there available on the market that I can't wait to hear Kelly rant on that one. She had a recent trip to the emergency room herself. But, sometimes our immediate trigger has gone from root cause, what's causing this, to oh, I need a pill, or oh, I need to go to the emergency room. And if I'm in Canada, you can go to emergency and wait there 18 to 24 hours if you really want. I'd rather suffer at home. So what we want to circle back to with the pain is things that you can do, at home. It's about self-care. At home is kind of the one thing everybody can control. It really is the one way to be most consistent, whether that's your self-care, your lipedema care, as Marianne calls it, or just there's treatments out there that don't work if you're only doing them once, twice a month. And the sad reality is, if we all had the benefits and the bankroll, we'd be seeing people like Jen and Kelly every day because we could afford the treatments that we quite honestly should be getting, for the conditions that we have. Many of you do not have a diagnosis in my group. I'm sure that's the case in Jen's world and Kelly's group as well. You don't need a diagnosis to start managing pain. I know some of us are gun shy, thinking, well, I don't want to do the wrong thing and cause more pain. And sometimes that's, you know what? That's usually what happens when you try anything new, is there's more pain, or there's more restless leg. And sometimes it's a matter of, you got to shake shit up to start improving things. And sometimes we get gun shy, and if it's not a pill, we don't give it that 30 days. We try it once or twice and assume that it's doing something wrong for us, and we run back to the pill cabinet. So circling back, yes, it is Self-Care Awareness Month, but because probably the biggest symptom that most of you, whether you're dealing with lipedema, Derkums, lymphedema, it's almost time to change the name of my group to people with chronic issues using vibration machines, because everything's in there now. I've got MS, cancer, I've got fibromyalgia, I've got Ayers-Dano syndrome. Everything that you could think of as a condition has kind of fallen towards my page, because I have experience on the machine with them. So I'd like to circle back to the lipedema, the fat disorders, and speak to two people that are living with these conditions. I'm going to introduce, if you haven't watched any of our past episodes before, where have you been? We've done this 4 times. This is number 5, and we're going to keep doing it until you're sick of hearing from us. Kelly and Jen are going to talk about pain, some of the triggers. Sometimes we forget to circle back. I don't want you thinking it's you. And much of our care out there is designed to say, well, it's your fault. It's something you're doing or something you're not doing. When really, sometimes the answers are there, but we may have lost sight of them. So I'm going to start with Kelly. The floor is yours. It's Self-Care Awareness Month.
It is, and it's also Pain Awareness Month. So
Is it? I wasn't sure when I was looking online.
So Jen and I chatted a bit because, well, actually, we started chatting about ourselves because even though we come on and we smile and we talk about how great the things that we do are, sometimes it sucks for us too. We're not absent of symptoms and absent of pain. We just choose to be more proactive. But we do have days where all we want to do is lay around and be upset that we have this condition and we do have pain and we are struggling to do the self-care. Everyone struggles to do the self-care when you have pain. And Jen and I were talking and she's like, oh, I have to get back to doing this. I'm not feeling well. And I'm like, well, I stopped and thought about it and it's this with me. And she was like, oh, I should think about that too. And so we don't come to you to say what Deb said, like doctors will say, well, you must have done this, this, this. That's not where we're coming from. We're coming from a place of, we deal with this. We know that like emotionally, mentally, pain is hard. It's not just hard to physically feel pain. It's hard to keep going. It's hard to keep doing all the things. But also it's easy to get overwhelmed by the pain. I have much less pain than I used to have just because I do so much to mitigate the pain. And I've taken it upon myself to do tons of research and try all different kinds of therapies. But it is really easy to get overwhelmed. It's easy to get overwhelmed and just want to lay in bed. And one of the things that I talked to Jen about is you can't just lay in bed. Like sitting in the exact same position all the time actually increases your pain. If you're laying in your bed at the same angle, looking at your phone at the same angle, or your laptop at the same angle, or your TV at the same angle, all those muscles and all that connective tissue in you just gets tighter and tighter and tighter. When your legs are bent at sitting at that same angle, your lymph is not flowing through those main lymph channels, and that increases your pain. Your inflammation is going to be higher, so that's going to increase your pain. And when I hurt the most, I realized I had to move. And you said exercise, Deb, but I think for some of us, it's just quit sitting there all day in the same position. And you'll be surprised. You don't have to walk a mile, but you need to get up and shake your legs out and take a tour around your house or like whatever it is for you. Because it's a myth that if you have pain, it means you must stay in bed. Some of that inflammation and some of that pain will actually get better if you just change how you're sitting, change how long you're sitting. And so I guess I'm talking to myself because that's what I tend to do. It's like, oh, I have pain. I'm going to not move because it hurts. But through movement, and I'm not talking about going and doing a water aerobics class or going to the gym and working out for 2 hours. I'm talking about get up from where you are right now and move yourself instead of sit. I think people also see other lipedema people and I'm walking 3 miles and I'm doing powerlifting and I'm doing all these things. That might not be for you. And doing those things, if you force yourself, might actually increase your pain. So I think our goal is to say to people, figure out where you are, not where everybody else is, not where you see other people, what they're doing, how much they're doing, how intense their workout is. Figure out where you are. Look at your own body, because self-awareness and is the first step to self-care. If you aren't aware of where your pain is and what your pain's doing and where it's coming from and what's causing it, how do you know what self-care you need? I think I've been in a place where it's just like, I hurt so bad. Everywhere, I just hurt so bad. But when I stop and I think, it's, I've sat too long with my bad posture, I have tension, here. That pain is not lipedema from sitting too long. Or I ate something I shouldn't have eaten, all this stuff in my abdomen. That's not lipedema pain. That's because I should have made a better choice with my nutrition. Or my joints really, really hurt. Well, that's because I know if I eat a lot of grains, my joints hurt. So I trace back, what have I eaten the past 3 or 4 days? That joint pain is not arthritis, and it's not joint degeneration, and it's not lipedema. That was also a choice that I made with nutrition. Or I tried this new therapy and I did a little too much. My limbs feel heavy and achy. My tissue is achy. So we have to take apart the pain instead of sitting in one position saying, I hurt, I hurt, I hurt. And sometimes we do need to sit there and be upset that we hurt. But then we need to regroup and know our own bodies and figure out, what do I need to do to help this pain right here? And that can be really life-changing if you can separate the pain and address each thing as it comes up, instead of always being overwhelmed by just all the pain everywhere. And Jen really helped me 3 or 4 weeks ago when I am so tired of dealing with this body that I have and everything going on. So I want her to talk to. I talked longer than I planned, but that's okay.
Well, I'm going to add one point to you, which is going to roll into Jen. And a really key thing, regardless of whether it's the food, the exercise, the whatever, is moderation. What you said it very eloquently. When you see people and you know who you are, you're the top, the ones that are doing the 5 miles a day. And it's important to sometimes remember that's just a moment in time. You don't know that it might have taken 12 years of these types of conversations and days in bed and tubs of ice cream before we got to that point. Everybody's human, and look at it as something to aspire to, but you certainly can't measure yourself against someone that's been doing the care and become just more diligent at it. So, Jen, hi. I'm not hearing you. Just wait. Hang on. I think you're unmuted. Check your volume. Oh no. Technology is awesome when it works. If things don't get working here, I might throw the ball back at Kelly, because I know you talked to Jen.
I did.
We try to have a little bit of a plan for these things.
It's still showing on my screen. It shows that she's still muted.
Shows that you're mute, Jen. Your little microphone. Well, Kelly, it's on you now.
It's on me now.
Jen, do double next one, if need be. I just don't want to keep either of you after. I know that you've got other commitments.
She could try.
Do you want to try calling back in? Okay. Kelly, maybe one of the topics that I wanted to sort of raise, and we'll maybe circle back to, because it's a little bit more relevant to your group. We'll maybe talk about this quick first is, and I know it totally sucks ass, and it's not just a lipedema thing. It's the food. I hate the word diet because it's like workout. It's very demotivating. It's not something anybody wants to do. I prefer things like responsible nutrition choices. And I know I learned more about food sensitivities and food allergies in this community in the last, sometimes it's, it's wholesome, good, nutritious food, but it's maybe not so good for you personally, your blood type, a condition you're dealing with. And there's this whole other side of, we think of self-care as beating ourselves up with massage guns and exercise, but really, 90% of it is what we put in that makes up our bodies. And we did a chat last time with Amy. I'm struggling for the name of her group, but there's never one path with the nutrition piece, but it is something that I personally feel is root cause for pain in some instances. Could you maybe elaborate a bit on that?
Sure. That is one thing that Jen and I talked quite a bit about, because she and I both, she had just been on a vacation, and I stick with my personal nutrition plan about 99% of the time, because when I have a reaction to a food, I don't like what happens. I
Maybe
do get in.
You don't have just lipedema.
I don't have just lipedema. I have several things, but because I've cut out the main triggers, this is something that happens that many people aren't aware of. But when you cut out the main food triggers, if it makes your stomach upset or it makes you, I'm trying to think of the most common things. I have
Tired is a common one too.
fatigue, inflammation. It can make if you have that heavy feeling from lipedema, like your arms are heavy, it can make you feel like that. Joint pain, muscle aches. There's so many symptoms that people don't associate with food. But when I talked to Jen, I had eaten. Mine is weird. Sometimes I'll eat one of the foods that I know is a trigger, and it's fine. But if I do that like 2 or 3 times over 3 or 4 days, like I'll eat rice and then I'll eat corn and then I'll eat sugar. After a few times, it's like a cumulative effect.
Yeah.
And then I'll feel bad. And so I know that a lot of people think food allergies are the same as being sensitive to a food or having a food reaction. Or they think, if I'm following an anti-inflammatory diet, I will not have inflammation. And that's also kind of a myth. Yeah. Because even though those foods tend to, over the general population, not cause as much inflammation as some foods that we know cause inflammation, they could still cause inflammation for you.
Yep.
So you really, again, everything about self-care with lipedema or another chronic condition, it's about knowing yourself and not being afraid to say, this is about me and I know what's best for me.
Yeah. And
it can be weird things. I can only have one type of salt. And everyone says, eat Himalayan salt and eat this and eat that, but I can have one type. And so if it's a weird thing, figure that out about yourself. You're allowed to be weird. I mean, you don't have to follow somebody else's nutrition plan. And they should not judge you if your body reacts to a certain thing that theirs doesn't. The one thing I wanted to mention is Dr. Herbst has been put as kind of the gold standard for lipedema in America, North America, probably. Mm-hmm. She came out with an announcement that she's offering food sensitivity testing at her clinic, which is in conjunction with a plastic surgeon in LA. So I know people are going to watch that, and I'm not here to say yes or no to what Dr. Herbst decides. What I want to say to normal women who can't get an appointment with Dr. Herbst, who can't afford to go to LA, who think, well, she's offering that, and if I can't go to her, then I'm never going to find this out. There are other places you can get food sensitivity tests. There truly are. Your doctor may have no idea because doctors in America are not trained about food sensitivities. A naturopath, a functional medical doctor, those people might be good people to ask if you have one of those people. But also, you can order those yourself. If you go online, you can order those yourself. You do need some understanding, but research can give you that understanding. So I just don't want women to get discouraged
No.
that they can't go see Dr. Herbst. And so what she's offering can't be offered to them, because you really can get that kind of information. But the greatest source of information is not a test that draws blood or saliva or hair or whichever method they use that gives you like a list of 100 foods that you shouldn't eat. The best way to figure out if you should eat something is to see if you feel like crap after you eat it.
Yep.
That's really the best way.
Yep.
So that's what I have to say on that. I just don't want anyone to be upset, discouraged if they're 1,000 miles away from Dr. Herbst with no money to go to her. It'll still, you can still do it.
Real simple about that. Okay. So for those of you that, oh, I should be doing this, there's a lot of things we should be doing and just don't have the motivation, but knowing that this has truly the biggest impact, it's kind of a simple thing that you can rule out on your own. And it's very empowering. The more you know about yourself and the more you can find the answer to whether it's a problem or just a question you may have on your own, it kind of gives you a little bit more courage and ego to move forward in the next one. And you shouldn't be reliant on any one person. No one is God. No one knows your condition better than you. And I'll back Kelly's point up. Here in Canada, certainly, I wouldn't go. The food guide now puts Cocoa Pebbles above eggs in Canada because technically there's more nutrition, I guess. But it's the form of the nutrition, the fake versus the for real. So you could go to a health food store, and a lot of times there's very qualified practitioners that are providing the products that you'd want to seek that can do. It doesn't have to be, like Kelly said, a plane trip and a 5-figure consultation fee to get answers you seek. Empower yourself. And I guarantee almost any town is going to, have a local nutritionist. Even at your local gym, there are people that just specialize in food and can probably help you navigate in a better direction. That's an awesome. I had heard about that as well, and I kind of, Dr. Herbst is awesome. Like everybody would love to see her, but if you've got to wait 2.5 years to get an appointment, you're putting off your care 2.5 years. You're still the one at the end of the day that's going to have to go through the steps and implement the changes. And I think if you can hurdle, even if it's 1 or 2 foods, you don't have to knock everything off right off the bat. Or maybe you probably in the back of your mind kind of know there's things we shouldn't be having. But and we're not going to get too deep into this. We'll repost the episodes that we've done in the past. But one of the big things Amy said about food last chat was, it should be an enjoyment. Food shouldn't be this thing that we look at and we get pissed off at it and create all this negative inflammation thinking about it. But do this over time. Don't make it an overwhelming task. And it can be a very simple but very life-changing process to go through. So, and yes, Jen was on holidays. Let's see if we can hear Jen now.
Can you hear me now?
Can. Thank you we had some technical issues there, and
yes.
Kelly talked briefly about the food piece. I did want to raise the discussion. Dr. Herp, I think that was earlier this week that came out. But yes, I'm glad that she brought it out because it gets you guys thinking about things that, Kelly's probably been preaching a lot of these things for a long time. It's not necessarily an allergy, it's a sensitivity. And, it may have been something that was fine your whole life, but you've maybe developed a sensitivity to it. Or maybe, it's something you were always sensitive to, and now you've got a different tolerance because, I don't know, maybe you went through menopause or something. Jenny, tell me how you are and what wisdom you have to share on pain.
Okay, well, I'm sitting here listening to you guys chat, and I'm just thinking, you hear people talking about, oh, I've survived cancer and I've survived this. And, I'm thinking we need to just call ourselves warriors because we are completely battling and fighting just our well-being every single day. Self-care is it is so hard. It is so daunting, and it can be so emotional, and you can get just down about all the self-care. However, there's a lot of things we did talk about in the beginning. Y'all talked about the pain from not moving. Well, let me just remind you that our lymphatic system works because we are moving our muscles. It takes muscle contraction to make your lymphatic system work. So sedentary lifestyle is definitely the worst thing that we can do as lipedema warriors, because it's going to congest all of that fluid that needs to be moving. And then that kind of goes along with nutrition. Our bodies are made up of 60% water. So if you're not giving your body enough water every day, well, then you're going to be hurting. You're going to dehydrate. You're going to swell more. And I think some of us just don't grasp that notion, because you drink all this water and then you have to go to the bathroom so much, and it hurts to get up and walk, and it sucks to pull these compressions down and go to the bathroom. I hate it. But you're moving lymph, and that is what's really going to help, believe it or not, get rid of some of your pain. Also, when we start something new, and we talked about exercise, and I think a lot of us have probably just a myth in our head about exercise. Like Kelly said, it doesn't have to be getting up, going to the gym, running a 5K, going to the pool. I can simply be at home and just walk around my house. That's exercise. I can go to my front porch and walk up the stairs 2 times. That's exercise. And then we start this out, and one thing is, I know I'm so guilty of it because I'm such a competitor, but it's like, man, balls to the wall. Like, I haven't worked out in 5 years, so balls to the wall. I'm going to go to the gym and do it all today. And then tomorrow I'm going to feel like crap. And so we know that's a problem. We cannot do that. Less is definitely more in our case. When you start moving the lymph that is congested, you're going to have some problems. Myself, I have found a lymphatic therapist for myself, which is an answered prayer. And so I got my first treatment, and I'm like, man, my quads are so sore. But it was just because they were super congested, and she's helping me move all of that. So we really need to, like we've talked about, the food, the movement, and all of these things. It's not always the lipedema that is causing us pain. We have to look at what we've done. If journaling is your thing, I would really, really suggest that you write down everything you eat. So then tonight, when you're laying on the couch and you're hurting, you can look back and you can say, oh, well, I went with my girlfriend and I had a glass of tea and I put some Splenda in my tea. Well, maybe that's what's hurting my body. I know that's just one thing. The artificial sugars really do bother me. So we've got to be looking at what we are putting in our body, giving it love, allowing us to, I know, so I did a lot of vacationing this summer. We went to the beach. I had a lot of yummy, yummy food, but also it had a lot of sodium in it. And when I came home, I was just a mess. One thing that we can do is put yourself on an elimination diet. And so for 2 weeks, I eliminated everything in my diet. I had 1 protein and 1 vegetable for 2 weeks every time I ate. And then now I can get my body feeling better. And so then I know, oh, okay, well, I had something that had grains in it. Oh, I'm not feeling so great. So let's eliminate that. Just really, really pay attention. And don't think just because we have lipedema that everything is lipedema related. I'm a massage therapist and my back kills me. Well, that's because I have horrible posture when I work. I have just overdone it. And so it's not necessarily lipedema. It's because of something I've done to my body. Along with the nutrition that we talked about and just the things that are contributing to our pain. I'm 50 and I'm going through menopause and it sucks. And my hormones are causing me to have very achy joints. And that's an estrogen problem for me that I have to get fixed up. So just really listen to your body, pay attention. When you're doing your workout, when you're doing your exercise, less is usually more for us. You have to find the middle ground. And medicating yourself for pain, let's figure out, like we've talked about, don't just because I have achy joints, go pop 8 ibuprofen. Let's really try to figure out, what the root cause is. And these drugs, I look through Facebook, and because I've looked at one thing, I tell you what, I get a new pill or injection or something 20 feeds on my Facebook page. And I just want to encourage you ladies to really try to figure your own bodies out. It's a daily work. It's learning something new every day for me. Talking to your friends, and also don't get discouraged when you get on these pages on Facebook, about lipedema sisters, or lipedema this or lipedema that. And somebody says, well, what kind of diet are you eating? It doesn't matter what Kelly eats. It doesn't matter what Jeannie eats. It doesn't matter what Debbie eats, because that's going to be different for me. And we have to figure out, you really need to get in tune with your body. Your doctor's not going to fix it. I'm undiagnosed. I've had lipedema since I had my daughter, who's 25. There's not a doctor in Fort Smith, Arkansas that will even know what the word lipedema is. They look at me like I have 3 heads. So be your own advocate, listen to your body, and do not count on any doctor in this US of A or Canada to help you. You're really going to have to do it yourself. And it's just daily effort.
The sooner you start identifying, even just associating probably some of the things, if you've been managing this condition, or let's just say, let's get the word condition out of it. If you've been dealing with chronic pain, you probably have this much insight into at least 1 or 2 of the triggers, the root causes that may be contributing. And you know what? Sometimes let's say it's ice cream and it's your kid's birthday party. At least you can plan. The beauty of identifying some of the food triggers, the activity triggers, whatever it is that's causing the pain, it puts you also more in control of your time. So if tomorrow, you want to sit on your butt in front of a computer and listen to Debbie ramble for an hour, and you're going to you can plan, ahead for the activity next
Can
day.
I interrupt you, Deb, just for a second?
Sure.
So you talked about chronic pain. I think we all just need to remember, or maybe you just aren't aware, but there's a difference between chronic pain and acute pain. So chronic pain is typically going to be a pain that you have had for 6 months or longer. This is going to be something typically specific for me. It's the lipedema. That's my chronic pain issue. And it's something that has lasted a long time. And I think sometimes we get confused that our chronic pain is not the issue, but it's acute pain. So acute pain would be something like you've twisted your ankle, you have a broken bone, you have a busted knee, you've had surgery and you have pain. So acute pain is from something, and it's going to go away pretty quickly. So let's kind of not forget that our chronic pain is long term, and the acute pain that we get sometimes is what we can find a reason for most generally, something we've eaten or done.
I was speaking with a gal yesterday that had a fall, and sometimes because of an acute pain or something that's caused it, you can increase the chronic pain. Sometimes it's another reason to do less. And I'm going to relate it back to the vibration machine because that's me. But the number one question I get when somebody's had a fall or an injury is, "Oh, I can't use my plate." And my answer is usually, "Well, what's wrong with the other leg? Can you stand on it? Because I know you're hopping around going to the bathroom on the good leg, and it's doing more of the compensating more." So sometimes when you have an acute injury or an acute pain, the other parts are compensating, and the chronic pain increases. So all the more reason to kind of be in touch with, where that chronic pain is stemming from, and make sure that you're managing it if you're in a situation like Jen. That's a brilliant point. Thank you for bringing that up. What else? What else do we know? What other wisdom do we have to share? Or do we
I have one thing, and it's quick. The other thing I want to say is, if you have chronic pain, that doesn't mean forever your chronic pain is going to be at the level it is or worse.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a myth in the lipedema community where they really push you're going to progress and progress and progress and progress, and you're just going to keep progressing unless you go to a plastic surgeon and get all this fat sucked out. And I personally know, and it's my personal experience, that progression does not equal more pain necessarily. And stage 1 and stage 2 don't necessarily have less pain than later stages. And you can stay at stage 1 or stage 2 and not progress to stage 3. I mean, each person is unique, and I think it's a disservice for it to be pushed so much that you will have more pain and more pain and more pain, and there's nothing you can do. Because I used to be in a place of so much pain that the down payment my husband and I had saved for a house, I told him I didn't care if we ever got a house. I wanted surgery now. And I went on like that for months. Really overwhelmed, really upset, in so much pain. Hard to walk, hard to take care of my kids. I mean, I couldn't do anything. And through a lot of different things that this video isn't about, but different therapies and changing my nutrition, my pain is about 95% gone. And that doesn't mean that's everyone's story, but it means being proactive and making sure you change things that are right for you can make a huge difference. So you can be overwhelmed today, but I don't want women to walk away thinking this lipedema diagnosis means it's just going to get worse from here.
Well, it's kind of the theme of the pretty little picture I made for the event today. You can be proactive, and maybe stop isn't the right word, but you're certainly the master of your universe. And every day I see people that, miracles, there's no miracle doctor out there, but miracles do happen. And I think a lot of it is a mindset. Don't get sucked into this, this is your fate. Nobody can dictate what you as a person, and being proactive, whether it's the food, whether it's drinking more water, like Jen said, we all have a couple of things we can start with. And I can almost guarantee if you take one positive step towards that and stick with it consistently, it'll give you the confidence to build, and you are going to start feeling better. And to Kelly's point, I know that she's done tremendous self-work to get to the point where she is, but that doesn't mean that she doesn't have days where she falls off the rail, or she has setbacks, but she's so much more in control of her ship and navigating the course of her life than if she had just, bowed down and given in to all the pills. And, quite frank, I hate to say pills, I'm sorry, but you guys have to remember, and if you think that we live in a world where profit really just isn't the most important factor in today's world, or certainly a big consideration, the healthcare system is a pharmaceutical system in today's
Mhm.
world. They don't talk to you about food. They don't talk to you about activity. They lay caution on the wind about all of these things, but very, very few people that have gotten good quality support in the self-care that I'm running into in this world. Not saying that there's doctors out there doing awesome work, and there's doctors and therapists that are dealing with these conditions themselves, but it's the nutritionists, the naturopaths, the functional medicine doctors, the people that are interacting with the better quality of lifestyle, the food, the activity, that are speaking from a place of experience. And you can absolutely empower yourself with this type of knowledge, and make a change today. Make a change today. Uh,
Yes, and to kind of bounce off of what Kelly was talking about, um, you know, because we get in that headspace. I've been there. This disease is very mental. Chronic pain is very mental. And some days you do want to crawl up into a ball and never leave the house. Um, but you can start today. You can start today. You can just have to do one little thing today. It's not all or nothing. It's just one simple thing today. And so what? Like I've done good for, we'll say, I'm trucking along and I've done good for 3 days, and then it's the weekend and I screwed up because I had a big fat cheeseburger, I had an ice cream cone, and then later we went out to the movies and I had popcorn and a Coke. Don't allow that to get into your head. Just little steps every day. I can do something better today than I did yesterday. I can drink 5 more ounces of water today than I did yesterday. I can walk 100 more steps today than I did yesterday. I can do something today for myself that I didn't do yesterday. And just because I screw up today, just because I get on the scale today and I'm 5 pounds heavier, does not mean that we've got to quit. Don't quit. Don't give up. Don't give up.
and you know
You,
what? It's not even screwing up. It's called living.
it
Look at the
is.
world we live in. Everything comes in a package. Everything is cheaper. You know, and you've got kids.
Yep.
You both have kids. How do you not live life? So instead of beating yourselves up, because that's what we all do really, really well. Oh my gosh, it's all my fault. And then it's reinforced when you go into the doctor's office. Sorry, yeah, I'll take the heat. It keeps coming out of my mouth. But it really is discouraging. I don't have lipedema, but at 30, I was told that I was fat and I was old, and my only choice was a knee replacement. And I chose to, instead of, okay, I got pissed off. And somehow 20 years later, I'm here talking with these lovely ladies. But, no one is in control of the outcome of your life more than you.
Yep.
And, it's okay to fall off the wagon, screw up, whatever you want to call it. Sometimes it's cool. My group's gotten so big that, sometimes it's just, you're dropping a bomb, and yeah, I had ice cream, and weekly check-in that I do, sometimes, even just being accountable to yourself by making a comment and saying, I didn't do it. Then at least, then you can put it in the trunk and lock it up and move on.
Yep.
Think of
It's
it as like
done.
a modern form of confessional, right? But we brew, we stew, causes more inflammation, causes more pain, sends us into the kitchen for those poor food choices. Not because I think sometimes, I know me personally, I'm a German woman, and unless it has gravy and it was deep fried, and you need 2 plates to carry it out on, it's not a meal. And I have found I've lost 60 pounds. Um, I have lots of arthritis. That would be my pain. And I just learned recently my favorite fruit on the planet is tomatoes. Guess what tomatoes are bad for? Kelly's going, I know, I know. I had no idea. Do I stop eating tomatoes? Hell no. I got red lights. I got vibration machines. I find a way to cope. So if you can't give it up, there's always a way to manage it. So that's where the activity, the movement, it's never one thing. But to Jen's point, start one positive change today and do this at the end of the day. So if you're going to have the cheeseburger and the ice cream cone, look at it as a reward for the good deeds you did earlier in the day versus punishing yourself for 2 days. Just know that you might be a little slower the next day, if you will.
Yep.
Right?
A little more achy the next day.
Yeah, and I think when you allow yourself to, fall off the tightrope once in a while and know you're going to pay the price, at least you'll dry off and get over it. To Kelly's point, you know what I mean? And then it's not, oh my God, I'm now stuck in pain for years. At least you know what to expect. So, and I'm going to be mindful of Kelly and Jen's time, and just because I know some of you have appointments and other clients. Before I get too far into, and I'm here to answer questions all day long. Sometimes people join late. And, part of what's so nice about working with the larger groups that Kelly and I have established now is it lets you know that even though you might walk into a doctor's office in Fort Smith, Arkansas, and they think that you're crazy, there's 16 to 20,000 other people elsewhere that actually know what you're talking about. And I think the mental health side of this disease is so critical. We talk about it, but to me, as kind of an outsider supporting the community, all the communities, I've got cerebral palsy groups, I've got vibration specialty groups. I've never seen a group stand up and be more willing to educate each other. Sometimes we piss each other off and we get into these wars, but the bigger picture is we're passionate about supporting each other because we know it's the best support we've got sometimes. And that's sometimes we're the best information. This test is not a new thing. And I'm glad that Dr. Herbst raised it because I think it's going to put a spotlight on it, kind of like this thing that's shining on my head right now. But sometimes it needs to come from the top to get attention, right? So now I hope it's in everyone's attention and it's not I need to go on a diet like Jen said. Look at one thing, and there's probably one or two things you could shortlist very quickly right now that are affecting your pain. And maybe it's not pain. That's the biggest symptom we talked about today. It's Self-Care Awareness Month and Pain Awareness Month. But, another big symptom I know when we do the things we're not supposed to, whether it's food or activity, is just swelling. An increase. Why have I increased so much in swelling after I went and saw Jen? I treated myself to an hour on the table today. What's wrong with me, Jen? Why am I so swollen? So there's lots of things that spook us and deter us from staying on. We know that we're supposed to be doing these things, but if we have a setback, it spooks us. I want to thank you guys for joining me. It's Friday, so you probably all have a life, unlike me. My daughter's at a babysitting course today, so I'm going to go pick her up in a bit. But I thank you for joining us. It's been a while since we've done one of these. Kelly and I, we're going to do another one. And, there's been a few on food now, and it is very much a trigger. I am not the food group. Kelly is the warrior there, and Cheryl as well. I want to give Cheryl a plug. If you haven't checked out her latest blog article, you need to. Everybody's going to relate to that. It's just, I meant to drop the link and I didn't. But Cheryl, kudos. Raw is the word that comes to mind. And you know what? There's nothing more motivating for me than being able to relate to someone that can just be so completely honest in sharing. It's not always a happy story out there with some of your struggles to improving your self-care. And many of us have had to make some pretty big decisions in life. And I'm proud of so many of you. Sometimes you've got to be a little bit selfish and put up those boundaries and put yourself first. And I learned that lesson with Kelly and Cheryl when I first got, I remember Kelly, you can't keep this pace. You can't be everybody all the time. Oh, you just watch me. And I have pity parties some days because I don't get all my messages returned by 2:30 in the morning. We all have limits and so do you. And if you fall off the wagon, think of it as a reward. Quit punishing yourselves, guys. The answers are out there. You sometimes just need people like us to help lift each other up. That's the big thing. So thank you for letting me be a part of this community for so long. It's going on 5 years now. 5 years since I knew about lipedema, which is as common as diabetes. So wouldn't it be fabulous if you got all the attention and all the coverage that diabetes do? That's my dream. That's my dream. So I'm going to let you guys go. If you have other topics for future chats that you would like us to ramble about, or anyone watching this on a recorded basis that does have questions, please just post this in the recorded feed, which I will have up by tomorrow. I always cut out a bit of my ramblings and make it prettier. Kelly, do you have any closing comments for today?
I think we said a lot. And I will say one thing that Amy Buchanan, people should go watch us from the last video, but she always says not to say you're cheating. If you're cheating on your workout plan, your nutrition plan, whatever, people always say, I cheated. She says, who are you cheating on? You're a grown person who made this nutrition plan yourself. You're not cheating. Just own it and move on.
You're rewarding yourself.
I mean, frame it however you want, but stress increases pain.
Yeah.
Stress increases tension. You cannot be relaxed and have your parasympathetic nervous system ramped up if you are stressing. And if you are putting all that on yourself, stop, because you're increasing your pain. Don't do that to yourself.
You're in good company here.
Yeah.
Everybody's going, right?
So that's my last thing. Stress and beating yourself up, worst things you can do for your health.
We get enough external stress from family members and friends. You know, we have to, there's certain stress that we can't deflect. We don't have that shield. So, you know, at least be kind to yourself. You know, you can go in the bathroom and scream your head off at the other people in private. But yeah, sometimes, you know, especially for those of you that are moms or grandmas or just care providers, it's in your nature to blame yourself. You know, if there's not enough chicken left, the kids eat first too, right? So we got to make sure that, you know, you can't take care of others if you're not taking care of yourself. And my daughter's 13. We've had some really interesting conversations because some of her friends are going through changes that she hasn't gone through yet, if you know what I mean. And for those of you that are supporting daughters that, you know, potentially might be dealing with these things, they're learning from you. They're not learning from their doctor. They're not learning from Debbie. I've always made a point of never verbalizing. Inside my head's a different zone, but I don't talk down to myself in front of the mirror because I didn't want my daughter absorbing and becoming that insecure girl. You know, we blame it on the magazines and TV, but sometimes, you know, we got to get it out. But, you know, always be cautious of the audience around you. That's my little 2 cents today, right? And Kelly's she's homeschooling like me too. So we have to be on guard more often because we're the teacher now too. So thank you so much, guys. Have a great weekend. I hope you have plans. And if it's just to eat ice cream, good for you. I will repost all the past sessions to Kelly's point. There's a few good topics, but if you do want to delve in more to the food piece, look at some of the information there. And remember, Kelly, I don't know if we have a link we can put for the food sensitivities or some more information on that. But we'll try and get some places to make it easier for you guys to get to the information, because I know sometimes that's the worst part of this struggle. There's just so much coming at you. So we'll put a few links in and try and keep this a little bit simpler for you guys that want to do more research after the fact. Have a great day. Thank you, everybody, for joining me. Don't work too hard. Thanks, guys.